Hello everybody, Travels with Tess here, and this is just a reminder. Please make sure that you hit subscribe and make sure you hit like for my channel. Today I am in Los Angeles and I'm at my sister's place and I have some artwork we're looking at. This is my nephew's Jake's artwork. Here's some artwork that my sister got from Scotland. Little tiny piece of artwork there. There's some artwork of Octavia's, the graphic designer. You too she's looking for work, so just in case, graphic designer for hire. And here's some work by myself back many, many, many years ago. So anyway, today's video is me and Octavia. Oh, look, here's my whole family. Look at that, nice. Today's video is a video of Octavia and myself going to a docent tour of the Quail Hollow Ranch. It's part of the Santa Cruz Parks Department. And I got a notification that there was going to be a docent tour. And I'm going to put probably like over here a big huge QR code, which takes you right to their donation page. It's a great place. You can go there, you can rent out the whole place and have a wedding there if you want. But he's going to talk about the Lane family, which they are the founders of Sunset Magazine in California, and they lived at this ranch located in Ben Lomond. So I hope you enjoy it. Richard is a docent, and he was an awesome guy. He had so much knowledge of the place and the architecture and all those things, sunset and all that fun stuff. So I hope you enjoy this tour, and make sure you hit like. And also, please, 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 I don't ask for anything on this channel. I know it's just like 20 of my friends and families that actually subscribe. So if you can, take a minute and donate to the Friends of the Quail Hollow Lodge. Not the one in Big Sur. I'm sorry, not the one in Carmel Valley. It's attached to Pebble Beach Golf Course. This is a Lone Pine house that you can go and visit to. There's no cost to go to the park. You can hike in the trails. It's really wonderful. So I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you.
I want us to check for ticks before we leave.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the sign say?
Yes, we're out in nature, Mom.
Okay.
Honestly, I should be checking for ticks when we're and do yard work for the
Yeah, because we get a lot of ticks. Remember that one time we found one in your hair?
Is that a tick?
Yeah, that was a tick. That was a tick. Alterations.
I have to send you a reference photo so you know what kind of layout you're looking for. Hi.
Hi. So you guys are doing a tour today?
Yes, we're
okay.
from 1 to 3.
Awesome. Yeah.
Get you signed in.
Yeah.
Glad you could make it.
Yeah. I've never been out here before in all the years I've lived.
When in doubt, try the other end. Okay, very good. I got you checked in. Let's see what time we're early.
Yeah, we're early today.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. He'll be coming back in. Hi, welcome. Are you? I do. Come on right back this way, and I'll show you where they are.
Did you need to figure it out?
We're done. We're
done. So we just come back here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Just
okay.
Come back here at
cool.
1 and you'll be
Thank
ready.
you. Walk this way. How you feeling? Hot?
Not super warm. Nice temperature actually.
Yeah. Private residence are over here. Oh, this is really pretty though. Look. Just like, we'll find out how old it is. I would place it in the 1800s. Has that kind of ranch style. Those little windows. Remember the house that we lived in had windows like that. Very simple. I don't think it's gonna be cold. And it is a tour. Let's walk this way. Come on. No, I just reserved it, but I'm gonna send a donation afterwards. Pay for one. We got 10 minutes. I think I'll use the restroom before we start. Such pretty grass. I don't want to disturb it.
Well, hello. I'll
Hi.
send you a picture. So
Is
you
it- do
may
you
stop
have
by
it here?
today.
Yeah. Was it in the press banner? No, it's in the San Lorenzo Valley Post. Oh, I don't see that. So they put it in here, you know, you have to subscribe to it, but they do put it in places. I've seen it at the, is it the Shelton Library? I forget where she told me they do distribute it.
They have them also in front of the Shelton Safeway, by the donut place.
Oh,
Like
okay.
little stacks of them. Our post office, the Brookdale post office has, you'll keep a stack of them inside.
Oh, do you? Okay, they don't have much of them on there, I don't know why. There it is.
Oh, no, I saw that somewhere else too, though,
Maybe you go online to like Facebook, because
Oh.
people post on Facebook all the time.
I'm gonna meet them here at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Good. she's a delight, I love her.
If I don't see it today, I may show up tomorrow. 10 o'clock, you said tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to come back and sit
Okay,
down.
okay, great. With my daughter.
Your daughter arrived. I might as well get comfortable
Okay.
before I ramble about things that may make your eyes roll back in your head.
Oh no. It's like the little fox.
In the classroom, once you
Yeah,
check
I
in.
think it's better than up here, you can get going
Go
on.
back and we'll sit down
Stragglers, I'll
in
send
a
you.
different environment, right through that open door there with the
Okay.
classic 1940s and 50s wallpaper.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, this was a bedroom.
Okay.
When magazine on this was in the 1930s or 40s.
Wow.
And,
Sit up
it
front, be
became
like
a
the #1 pupil.
I did. Don't be intimidated by all the information on the
Wow, good
whiteboard.
handwriting.
I made
Wow.
no test, nothing. It's a very casual talk. It's just nice to, when you visit this park, it's nice to know what went on here through history and how important this park was before it became a county park in 1986. It was a very well-known and important ranch and farm here for Santa Rosa Valley, especially during the logging industry here, right up through the, open up the valley for restaurants and hotels and tourists. Most of the people came from San Francisco and Oakland in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and chose this area as a vacation spot. So a lot of cabins were built here that were vacation cabins. People would come here from the city in the summertime. If you can't hear me, let me know. I have an amplification system. I don't like to use it because I scare myself with my voice sometimes. So if you can hear me fine, that's good. I don't want to necessarily have to put that device on. But we're just going to talk about these people and a few other things here. Then we're going to walk through the house and we'll look at the architecture, and I'll point out some of the things that are kind of noteworthy in the house. But it's nice it's been preserved. It wasn't the intent when this became a park in 1986. Santa Cruz County Parks purchased this property from Santa Clara Board of Education. They owned this from 1976 to 1986. They were going to make this a remote teaching campus, plus kids from San Jose over the hill, maybe have campouts here on the weekends and stuff, but bring science teachers over here, biology teachers, and have a hands-on course. There was even some talk about having an agriculture class so we could promote future farmers of America here. It's all a little passe by today's day and age with all the electronics that are in our lives, but that was the intent of Santa Clara Board of Education. Problem is, when they bought it in 1976, in 1978, Prop 13 passed in California with the tax issues for schools. They weren't getting the allotment they used to get. Bottom line is they couldn't afford to bus kids over the hill. They couldn't afford to pay the teachers. So they basically held us for 12 years, this property, with a caretaker, never once used it, never once bused a kid over here. So anyhow, we bought it from Santa Clara Board of Education. A lot of people come and say, well, what family donated this property? All down the line, everybody paid money for this property when they bought it. So nothing was given away here. All right, I'm going to back this way up here. We're going to go up above the first pioneers, which were the Kenville family here. But before that, people often ask me if this was an area that Native Americans lived in. They didn't live here, but we know for a fact that they hunted and gathered here because of the amount of the type of chaparral environment we have, first of all, with the healthful plants and the amount of berries and fruits that this type of property bears when it's not actually farmed and ranched. In its wild days, we know the Native American village was down off of Zany Road, approximately where Trout Farm Inn is now. It was a village of about 200 people, lived along the creek there. It was a seasonal village. They would move inland and a little further north or south when the weather changed. When winter came, they would move to a little drier climate and set up a village. But they would come back here through the spring, summer, and into the fall. And this was a hunting and gathering area. We look around now, we see all this vegetation, all these trees. We've probably got the most trees on this property we've had perhaps in 1,000 years. Knowing for a fact that the Native Americans used this property, they probably burnt on a regular basis these areas so they could grow grass. Grass seed was a big part of the diet for Native Americans here, the Ohlone. The Ohlone were an amalgamation of Native Americans. There were 40 to 50 separate tribes, land-holding Native Americans who got together and formed what's now known as the Ohlone group or the Ohlone population or the Ohlone culture. But it was made up of different tribes of Native Americans that lived throughout Santa Cruz Mountains up to San Francisco area, beyond, down to about Big Sur area, and inland to the first mountain ranges that pop up here. There were different tribes, they traded among each other. The group up here, the Spanish called them the Sayante, S-A-Y-A-N-T-E, hence the name Zahante. But that was what the Spanish pronunciation of the Native American group that lived here was, so that's what they called them. And they were a group of hunter and gatherers. They basically fished in the creeks, hunted and gathered seeds, and they traded among local Native American groups between coastal areas, south and north, for things that they needed. I get a lot of questions in exploring this property. Do you find any arrowheads? Do you find any Native American things? We don't, and a number of reasons. First of all, the local Native American tribes didn't necessarily use bows and arrows. They trapped things for the most part. They would build traps, they would build devices. Pine floor,
Love this bathroom.
and custom-made wallpaper with Brian's, including the Quail Hollow brand on the wallpaper.
Wow.
And I would have, as a kid, I would have killed for that wallpaper. That kind of
That is awesome.
I just love that wallpaper.
Jamie, what did
Yeah,
you
and he was a tall man, so notice that tall bureau there. He was 6'6".
Oh,
So that's a little taller than normal.
Love this.
Yeah.
I would love this.
Us tall people.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see all the cabinetry has the same style of floors, the bathrooms, hallways, it's all the same basically, yeah.
Wow.
Let's do a little something different. It's a nice day outside. Let's just go outside and look at the architecture of the house. We can tell clearly what's what. Yeah, it's not a house in California, they probably doesn't have one.
Exactly.
Right.
Such a sunset thing.
That's the original house, the two-story. Everything with the low roof line was added on by Lane family after 1937. This is all part of California modernism. Believe it or not, this is a version of modernism. These were all experiments. This open patio area, this patio here, the large overhangs, the one story, it's all part of trying to develop housing for California that's viable with our type of climate and the size of the grounds that we have here. You know, this is kind of East Coast style. Upstairs,
Look at the woodpecker.
Yeah.
they're the ones that are putting those holes in there, unfortunately.
I scared him away earlier.
And unfortunately, they don't learn. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes we'll be in the house and it's like a pinball machine. You know, you
You
can
can hear them coming down.
You know, oh, guys, I feel bad for you. And then they come back. Where'd my acorn go? So it's a constant deal here. Where these two garages were back in pioneer days was a water tower with a windmill and a tank, and then right up here to the left of the middle part of this orchard is a fallen down area where there was a redwood tank, so that would catch spring water, and then it would gravity feed down, and then the windmill would pump it up to the tank, and the tank would gravity feed the house here. And that was the water system. This orchard over here put in around 1905, 1907, somewhere in that area there. And then you can see our blue gum trees here. You can see why they are blue gum. We had a lot of trees fall in the storms this past winter. So we had a lot of trees that we had to cut up here. And this is new growth coming out. And these are blue gum trees, and you can definitely see the blueness in that new growth.
Wow.
Grows. But that protected the wheat field, which was on the other side, which was a field over there. And that's our trailhead back there. If you walk the trail, you walk back there, and then you take a left, all of our trails split off from that trail.
Did you want to come back through that way? Because I'm just having some yellow jackets are congregating right here.
Yeah, let's go back in the house here.
Oh, there's a nest right down there.
Yeah, they put them in the ground. Yeah.
They're ground
Yeah,
dwelling.
like a few of them over there.
Yeah, we don't want to tangle with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, check us now.
Oh, I told myself I'm not gonna epileptic or something. As busy as this wallpaper is, I don't think I could live with this on a regular
So
basis.
this is their original bedroom wallpaper?
This was this, yeah.
Wow.
All the wallpaper in the house.
Really?
Yeah. We're sort of
Nowadays, they just do a small area. They wouldn't do a whole room.
The backsplash.
Yeah.
So let's walk back through
We
here.
call it feature area.
Oh yeah, it's, everything comes back, right?
We'll walk out, yeah, we'll walk back out into the house now. I have all the Sons of magazines here. But you know, I talk about Larry Lane being non-advertising hard alcohol and stuff. He liked his hard alcohol. There's a hidden liquor right here.
Oh.
Here we have a 1950
Wow.
Oh my
still in place.
Oh,
So I've heard stories.
Yeah.
When I first started giving these talks, I had old secretaries that had retired from Sunset who remember coming here when they were younger. And Larry Lane would open this window and you get a martini passed out the window.
Wow.
You'd ride up on your horse,
Nice.
you grab your martini, and then you could sawn off so take your martini.
Yeah,
So, you know, it wasn't a big advertised fact, but Larry liked his martinis, obviously, or his alcohol anyhow, even though he didn't advertise it. Let's walk out into this hallway here. We can look at some of the pictures. And there are pictures of the pioneers that we've had so far. So that's the Lane family on the right side, all the Lane family, and this property primarily. This is the two sons. This is Mel, and Bill, and Larry, and Ruth Lane here on this property. And that surrey I had back in the back area here, we were able to keep the surrey. That's a 1902 Studebaker. When Larry Lane bought this property in 1937, he inherited the surrey. It was on the property here.
Any of the Lane family still live here? Or?
No, we don't see. You know, all the sons, everybody's passed on. The following generation never visited. We're not familiar with this property. We don't get any visitation from any Lane family anymore. When Santa Clara Board of Education sold this property to Santa Cruz, everything was stripped and sold in this house. Light fixtures, all of the things you see in here are original equipment. Everything you see now is replicas of all this stuff. We've gone through the years, we've been able to have volunteers and fundraisers, and we've been able to replicate. This is a real estate photo from 1957, sales photo.
Wow.
And it shows the house. Here's the room we were just in, the big door wall, the Lane family. Here's the hallway. That's the deep sink with that nice Dutch design yellow tile. Probably dates around 1939, 1940 with the deep sink or flower arranging. I've seen this in beige, pink, and white. I've never seen this color yellow. That's really pretty. So this was, along with the cabinetry, custom made, was put in probably in the late 30s, early 40s, shortly after they got here. When the Lanes were here, they had a live-in maid. This was the maid's quarters. She got a little bed in there. Now we use it for brides when we have weddings here.
Oh.
Bride preparation room. But the bathroom is really nice. I mean, that's a complete pink bathroom.
It's like so 50s. Oh my gosh.
So this is where the maid lived. And
A pink bathroom.
My grandmother had a pink
so
bathroom.
this is added on, and this is another concept of modernism. You can see all the storage back here. This is an entertainment venue. These are all storage areas. These skylights, first generation skylights to a degree, not safety glass, just heavy duty tempered glass, ridged glass. These, I know for a fact, were made for a commercial building in San Francisco. And Larry Lane did a lot of that. His offices were in San Francisco. If he heard about a builder who was putting a building up, he would get in contact with him. Anything you don't want to include, I want to look at, I might want to buy. These were going to go into a commercial building in San Francisco. A building owner balked at putting them in. Larry Lane bought them, put them in, and then wrote an article about ceiling lights, natural lights in buildings, wondering if that'll take off in the future.
Now Sunset
Another thing
makes
is-
they make whole homes, so
I
you can
know.
tour the Sunset
I know.
House and
This
get all your
here,
ideas.
This is now a bathroom, but what it was before, there were 3 freezers, 3 refrigerators along the walls here. This was a room where they had all their coal supplies kept. Since they morphed this building, what was once a vacation house, into their company entertainment venue, they would have 40 to 60 people down here on a Saturday or Sunday, and you're going to feed them. So, you know, you see these things up here. What was done was there were velvet drapes on here, and then there was a big dining table here. So you'd have a big dining table here. So you got 40 people down here for a weekend, a horseback ride, rodeo, food. We're going to feed you here, right up here. Come on.
That's a smart.
Back here, let's walk back here briefly into another room. We're still getting, we didn't, up until I started here, we didn't have any kind of a cultural museum. So we're starting to get things on display here. And I've been able to take over this garage space. Usually the satellite was sitting on, sits back here also. But this is a 1902 Studebaker, Surrey. And this was when Bill Lane was still alive in 2007. This old Surrey was on the property. He came and took this and took it to Mariposa, California, and had it restored for us. So what was tin is now plastic, but the running gear, the frame, everything is original to it. The top, everything is original to it. Just that things were so rusted away, had to be replaced.
Is this the one that's in the picture?
Yes, that's the same one. It's a different color in the picture, but it's the same Surrey.
Wow.
And sometimes we get school kids here, and I'll talk to them and ask, what is this that we're looking at up here? And people know, it's fringe, you know, it's cute. It's actually an insecticide. It keeps the flies off people on the inside. That movement is enough to keep the flies that are always on those 2 horses in the front of you, off you. So as you're riding along and that goes, it's not decoration. It's something, movement that keeps those flies off you. So that's the whole idea of fringe carriage, is to keep the bugs off the passenger.
Is that true for like jackets and stuff too?
Pardon me?
Is that true for like the fringe that's on?
And I don't know.
Maybe that's
We all
why the
had to do it.
cowboys
So
always have
if we're old enough, we all had one. I know I had one time. Leather with the long. I remember that, actually. So anyhow, and we're trying to regain things. I got a coup last February. I was able to get this back on the property. That's the original blacksmith bellows for the ranch from 1872, basically. So that's the application up on the wall. It was mounted sideways. And out and back here, there's a wisteria bush surrounded by a wooden fence. That's what's left of our blacksmith shed is underneath there. That's where this was mounted. A gentleman picked this up at the dump in 1962. The cattle rancher, Harry Owen, was cleaning this property out, took that to the dump. One of the local neighbors grabbed it, threw it in his truck, brought it back, put it in the shed, and just this last winter he contacted me and said, "Say, I saw you there one time, and I've got something I think belongs to your ranch." Sure enough, it belonged to the ranch.
How did he know it belonged here?
Because the guy who was throwing it away told him it came from this ranch.
Oh,
So
okay.
Harry Owen, his guy, he said, "Hey, can I have that?" "Yeah, it came from Quail Hollow. Yeah, you can take this."
Hey, was it featured in the Sentinel or the KSBW? I thought I read about that.
It's been in a couple of places. Yeah, it's been
yeah.
in either a local newspaper or the Sentinel, probably. Yeah, but it was nice. The old guy brought this back, and his sons helped him. 94 years old, Carl, I forget, Schaff, SCHAAF, collected this from the dump. So it is part of the original. And I had Chris from the museum in Boulder Creek come and authenticate that this is that era type of bellows. But yeah, back in the day, you had to manipulate your own metal. People don't realize that until the Continental Railroad was completed in 1879, the only way to get metal and things to the West Coast was on sailing ships, and it made everything so expensive. So time and again, things were either reused or you had to make your own nails, your own steel and stuff. here. So big bellows and a big blacksmith shop were important to have here to heat that up to get the metal that you need. You go to a local hardware store and buy metal rods and metal bars and stuff, but as far as finished metal art pieces, you just couldn't get that here affordably. And that's another thing we're trying to do, exploration. Before the wisteria grew up, matter of fact, we'll walk back out here a little bit. Let's go to the living room of the old original structure. We will end in the kitchen. Yeah, the blacksmith shed was underneath that wisteria, that green thing there. That's where the blacksmith shed was back in the day. So that's where everything, metal was made, everything was fixed, things like that. This is the original structure, and the architecture dates to around 1904, roughly, in this kind of building. This is probably carved up into multiple bedrooms. This wall was pushed this way 2 feet. This fireplace was added when the Lane family took this over. So this wall used to be over this way a little bit more. The little parlor was right here, with a little center stove that went up all the way up through the second floor too. And then everything else was cubicle loft as bedrooms. And then this is this is the Pioneer kitchen originally, but it's not. It didn't look like this. It was a much smaller kitchen, half this size. This is the kitchen that the Lane family, Sunset Magazine, remodeled in around 1940, 41. This is what they thought architecture in houses should look like. You've got a real brick floor. A big part of their concept was you should feel like you're outside when you're inside. So that's what this is supposed to make you feel like. These were big windows back in the era. These are about the biggest commercial or residential windows you could get. It's supposed to make you feel like you're outside when you're inside. To make you fall in love with the temperate climate in California. I was able to find the flying saucer lamp upstairs in the attic as
with the
original
clock.
equipment. Yeah, it's original equipment. When I first got here in 2014, there was a little porcelain lamp for a light at the top. I switched them out to put that back where it belonged, and that's the original modern lamp.
And this
And
adjusts,
yeah,
right?
it does exactly that. You know,
Yeah,
it's
they're really
and
fun.
think-
I had
and
one in
think
my
it
old
still
house.
works.
Yeah,
Huh.
love that.
Wow.
It's like a spring.
Yeah, and it
Cool.
still works. It's all cloth iron. It's probably the world's most dangerous light. But there's a lot of early things, a lot of experiments here, a lot of things that really influenced how houses are now built in California. This is a very early West Coast island. Islands weren't heard of back before things like this were built. They probably built on the East Coast, but they weren't seen on the West Coast. This is a new top. The top was actually that linoleum down there. You see that brick, that old-time 1920s brick type. That's what the surface on the top is. This
So
originally.
it kind of carried the brick floor
Yeah,
stuff.
stainless steel. If you look at this, see kind of rough weld marks here. This is an experiment with stainless steel. This was here, put in the 1940s as an experiment to see if stainless steel would work in a kitchen. This was custom made in Scotts Valley. All this was pre-made before forms were made. You can see kind of the rough stamping of how they did this. But this is original equipment. You know, in early California and early America, stainless steel was unheard of as being used in a house. You had aluminum, you had sheet steel, tile, linoleum, paint. Those were the surfaces for kitchens and rooms. But stainless steel was an outside building cladding. It was used in Chicago, Detroit, New York as an outside building cladding. It holds up very well to the weather. When Bill Lane came back from the U.S. Navy, Bill Lane, one of the sons, he was on destroyer duty, and they towed behind the destroyer a stainless steel capsule with sonar gear in it. And he commented to his father how durable he thought stainless steel was because it held up to seawater so well. Light bulb apparently went off in everybody's head. They went and found a piece of stainless steel and experimented to see if it was working in a kitchen. Now you don't go into a kitchen without stainless steel in pretty much. But before that, it wasn't known. So this is an experiment. So this has been here many, many years, and it shows definitely its durability. It's still here. It still cleans. It's been scored and roughed up. But I mean, it's still a clean surface that works well for cooking and whatever else. You look at some of these appliances, again, everything's been replaced, replicated, but this, back in the day when the Sunset Magazine folks, lanes were here, this was an all-electric house, one wire coming in. You know, any given day, wind would blow, a branch would hit the wire, we'd be out of power. Since this was an entertainment venue, it was very important to have something like this. This is a coal stove. This primarily ran on a piece of coal. You could run on wood, but coal was put in there. So when the power went out, we were entertaining a group of 40 of our best employees. We needed to keep that chili going. Put a piece of coal in there, let's keep that chili going. And so that was used. This went up and tied into the system of the flue where the fireplace is over there.
Wow.
This is back when copper was fairly cheap. So there's a lot of money sitting up there. It's hard to keep clean. It's not fancy, but it's another nice idea to have here, basically. So that's the tour of the house. That's the families. And you know, our pond, if you don't know it, our pond is just across the roadway, down yonder. It's a large pond. If you look in the living room, we have a painting done right after the pond was put in by an artist in 1953, before all of those royal willow trees and other trees and bushes grew up around our pond. The pond was about 25 feet deep. It's clay lined. It was put in by a contractor. It's spring fed. The springs end up flowing down. We have a couple of troughs and cement flowways into our pond. In back of the pond is a dam. The dam, when it rains hard, overflows into Quail Creek, which runs down into Zany Creek. So this was basically a big early part of Sunset Magazine's development here, and the Lane family loved this property. Into the late 1940s, early 50s, Larry Lane never went up to his office in San Francisco. He brought a secretary down here. His office was in where our park office is. They lived here. He ran the magazine out of this property on the phone, basically made decisions, and had meetings down here. Would invite all of the executives down, sit around a table and hash out the magazine, bring important people here. And you know, I talk about the Lane family and Bill and Ruth, Larry and Ruth Lane, the original owners of Sunset. Their sons, Bill Lane especially, was almost as important, if not more important than his father was. Bill Lane, who became editor of the magazine after his father died, went on to become ambassador to Australia. He was offered Secretary of State under Reagan. He turned it down. He didn't want the responsibility. He didn't want to be away from Sunset Magazine the way Secretary of State would have to be. He was a good friend with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan came up here to ride. Bill Lane would go down to Rancho Viejo, down in Southern California, and ride with Reagan's riding club. They were pretty close friends. So Bill Lane became ambassador, accepted the job of ambassador to Australia, Vanuatu, and South Seas Islands, which is pretty exotic, and I don't blame him for taking that ambassadorship. That would be a very, very great way. Instead of going on vacation, I got to be ambassador, honey. We've got to go down to South Sea Islands and sail down there and solve problems, basically. So it's the family are very important in California history. Not early pioneers, mid-term pioneers, but really influential in houses we see today, California ranch houses, the way things are decorated, what grows in gardens, what doesn't grow in gardens. A lot of it is laid at the doorstep of Sunset. They were the original superior influencers, the way people online are now. They really influenced a lot of people with what they wrote about in the magazine. And they grabbed a huge audience. And there was always somebody coming new that needed to understand what to do when we're in California. I don't understand with this temperate climate, when it just rains, what do you do here, there, whatever. So that magazine really did outline it. You know, we get a lot of people that are studying Sunset Magazine. It's gotten into the point now where there are even college studies on Sunset Magazine as far as how much it's influenced California lifestyle today. It's just crept into our lifestyle throughout California. I mean, so much of what we see in California wouldn't be without these folks writing little blips and articles and little plans of how to face, how to do this, how to grow that, which way you should face your fences, your houses, your decks, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the story basically of Quail Hollow Ranch.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you
That was
listening.
very awesome.
It's
Thanks so much.
it's fun to know all this stuff. I really got enthused about this when I got in depth and found all of these loose articles and information about all the pioneers. And once put together, I thought to myself, it's going to make a great story.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure
I just
is.
need to compile it.
Yeah.
And, I owe a great debt to a previous volunteer, a lady named Laurel Hamel, who's volunteered before me, who was here, who was a member of the Mormon Church and went and looked at all these files and copied lots of information, but just put them in a file and didn't compile anything, basically. So
Ah,
it was fun to all the legwork was done. All I had to do was put it together.
yeah, that's
But
great.
it's a fun story. And now when I'm in this park, I have a different feeling about what it is and what it was. I know for a fact that the lay of the land is pretty much unchanged. Things haven't changed very much at all, other than the pond that was out here in the grass taken out. And the house that you see over there was built in 1940. The Lane family built it, Sunset Magazine, or when they would have people come, especially people, architects, builders, people's brains who they wanted to pick. Spend a few days with us. We'll put you up. I want to write about what you've got going in my magazine.
It sounds like he was like the first remote worker.
Yeah, there's a lot of
They were
not a
also
celebration,
the
but yeah.
original influencers.
Yeah, original
Yes.
influencer.
And you pull it off with a telephone in an office, basically.
Yeah,
And the
it's like,
secretary
I'm moving it here.
taking your dictation and all of the old school ways of doing it. But, there's still some old things. You look through these windows, you can see some 19th century windows. These were probably blown glass windows.
Yeah, because they're
You
rippled.
know how glass in California was produced for windows. The rippled glass is probably blown glass. Yeah, that's another volunteer thing. It works.
It does?
Yeah.
Really?
Radio, phonograph, yeah. Phonograph at the top, radio.
Wow.
And this old time TV, we've got wired to a DVD system, DVR system. So we show.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh!
So we show,
Whoa!
videos out here of things that we've done around
That's
the park here.
cool.
Yeah, this is it's a great old.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh my
My grandpa had one of
That's
those too.
amazing.
There's your entertainment center right there. We got.
Yeah.
And this is a hi-fi and stereo.
Yeah.
Serious
right.
speaker too.
There's a separate speaker over there. That's exactly right.
That's very good.
So it's nice. We're lucky to have a group of volunteers here that have worked hard and going out before me, gotten a lot of this stuff. And we try and keep it decorated in mid-century. We think the Lane family, Sunset Magazine, is our most notable, probably pioneer that's lived and worked here. So we try and replicate their life here. Well, I talk mostly about them, so it's important to have a little visual connection with what you're talking about.
So what are these houses used for now? When they're over there.
What's the pond used?
What are they used for now? The other houses.
Oh, the house. Actually, it's funny you should ask. The county parks was rented out till 2 years ago to a county employee. He retired, moved out of state. We had a meeting with county parks. They're going to give us that for a nature center. Since this is a rental venue, we have a lot of weddings and parties here. That means we need to move the animals out.
They don't want to
things
see
around.
mountains.
So it's a pain in the butt to do that, and things get damaged here.
Yeah.
So, and it's a moneymaker for the county. I understand both sides of this. So we talked to the county parks, and they said that we can get that building and we can move all of our nature stuff over there. So we're going to eventually move our taxidermy, our displays into that house.
Oh, good.
But it's a 1940s house. It needs electrical
Yeah,
work,
that's a baby
heating work, it needs walls being
Well,
removed.
that's your
One came
specialty.
to our house one
The trouble is, they won't let me do it.
Oh,
It's county
no.
parks maintenance has to do it, and they're always too busy doing other things. So it's an ongoing thing. I was told to have patience, and I am up to a certain point. But I'd like to be able to claim that building before those thoughts go by the wayside and something else happens here. But I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to have that as an issue center. All of our taxidermy is on wheels. We can't move them. I move all of these things to the back room so that opens us up for a wedding.
Mhm.
Wow.
For some reason, bride and groom don't want dead animals in the photos.
This is
I
a
don't- I
baby.
don't get
This is
it,
a
but-
baby one.
Yeah, that's a juvenile.
I think I saw one near our. We have a property at Cam, and one came across on our my Cam one night. I'm like, that
Yeah.
looks like a
If you're
juvenile.
interested at all, we have a camera that's on our pond, and 2 weeks ago I saw a mountain lion. There was a fawn with baby deer down in the morning drinking, and off to the side I saw this tail in the air, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, especially you
So
get
I
that.
waited, yeah.
You get that tail on the. It's
The
like a
mountain
giveaway.
lion was chased away by a county maintenance truck pulled in 7:30 in the morning, just as the mountain lion was going to pounce on the phone, which I probably wouldn't have wanted to happen, but it would have scared both animals away. The deer went one way, the mountain lion went the other way. We know we have at least one probably area for mountain lions, so we know regularly we have them, and we've seen one female with a radio collar, Velcro collar on, and then we've seen one smaller, probably male juvenile without a collar in recent months. So it's and you know, if you're here, you know, it's funny. We get people here and we show off these entities, this taxidermy, and especially folks that are from out of the area or even out of the country. I was asked, well, what trail do we walk on to see this animal? What trail do we walk on to see? Well, first of all, we're not a zoo. So and most of these animals are active nocturnally at night, so you're probably not going to see anything. But what's nice is usually later in the day, 4:30, 5 o'clock, when most of the tourists are gone, the lawn is full of deer, full of turkeys. That's a lot of times when we'll see a mountain lion saunter through, you know, so just before nightfall.
The
when
turkeys.
people are not here, yeah, turkey. And in fact, nowadays I even
I don't
laughingly
like
tell people, take a
turkeys.
turkey home with
Jeez,
you.
me.
Please take one with you. We have a lot of wildlife here, but being surrounded by 300 acres, and we're a nature preserve, so everything is protected here, both plants and animals in this park. We don't allow people to pick or take from this park. We make the occasional exception. We're talking about getting together. It's too late this fall, but maybe a apple pressing and cider fundraiser from the orchard, the apples in the orchard. One time we had people that would hunt mushrooms here. We got involved with a winery. That's another good entity. But, you know, being a protected property, it's tough to authorize people to go and pick mushrooms off trail and wander around here and do that stuff. So we don't. And we're enforcing, we go around and bust people and do things like that. If we see people foraging mushrooms, we have to talk to them about not taking anything out of the park. And we don't have any enforcement powers, but sometimes we can be persuasive in our discussions about things. So anyhow, it's a hidden away park. You know, it's interesting, a lot of people, even locals, don't know we're here and don't know how large we are, and that we have almost a 5-mile system of trails, that we're a horse boarding ranch, that when you walk on trails, horses have the right of way, so you always step a little aside down the trails. And the first trail in this park is aptly named our Sunset Trail, which was put together by the 2 teenage sons of Sunset magazine owners down at that end. And it's wide enough that that carries that you saw probably went up and down that trail many times when this was a much more rural road. This is one of the oldest roads in Santa Cruz County. When you pull in, there's an old-time fence. That's the oldest fence in Santa Cruz County. Also. It's an old ranch fence from the 19th century. It was fallen down. When I was on a trail crew, we discovered it. The trail crew resurrected it, and then we got a historical designation for the oldest fence in Santa Cruz County.
Nice.
But you know, through the years, before the Lane family, this was an extremely important livestock, agricultural, and food-producing ranch and farm here. So this was a very active piece of property for many, many years. And like I said, again, well, you can tell by just looking at these photos. Here's 1943. Look how open we are. You can see the orchards here. This orchard right here is on that hillside right over here that's now completely covered in trees. And if you look underneath there, you can see the hillside is terraced all the way up. And that's even before the pond. Now here we are with the pond in 73. You can see 97, and even now we probably have even more trees than we've ever had. So it's going back to nature, even beyond, even the Ohlone, you probably never saw this many trees on this property that we see here today. You know, our primary interest for the Native Americans was number one, grass, number two, the oak trees, especially down on Discovery Trail. There are a couple of valley oak trees, white oak trees down there that have extremely large and high protein acorns on them. So we know this is a very prime gathering spot from the oak trees that are growing on this property. And amazingly enough, acorns have a lot of protein. For the most part, you get 7 to 8 grams of protein in an acorn. The white oak trees down here, the valley or white oak, have 12 to 14 grams of protein. But it takes a lot of work, so you've got to take your basket of acorns down to Zanny Creek and leach them for day in, day out to get the tannic acid out of there. And I've eaten acorn bread. It's been very tasty.
Gotta get the acid.
Are the
out
whale
there.
bones from the property?
It's pardon me?
Are the whale bones from the property?
Yes, our trail crew, we find all those things. It's just indication that we were part of an inland
Marine
sea over us,
sediment.
right? Absolutely. Sea cow, whale, mudstone with the shells in it, basically. Mudstones underneath the sand. This is the type of turtle, western pond turtle that we have in our pond. The pond was put in by the Lane family for two reasons: aesthetic value and firefighting. Larry Lane was worried about fire here, and so he had no fire report on it for a number of years. So just in case he needed.